If we want to really get what drives a self-centered, materialistic person, especially in his quest for power, we should contrast him with someone who is his exact opposite, a deeply religious Christian with no interest in power. The way a Trumpist thinks could not be more different from how a Christian prays. For a Trumpist, the first thing that pops up in his mind always is the phrase, in defiance, setting the stage for conflict, rejection, and self-promotion from the get-go. This is in stark contrast to the Christian's heartfelt Amen at the end of their prayers, which stands for harmony and agreement. Every word that follows the Trumpist's in defiance is predictable. It shapes up into a Trumpist creed, the polar opposite of the Christian prayer in both its meaning and its structure. And the first only possible word after in defiance is I. But while the Trumpist focuses solely on himself by basing all his acts on this in defiance I, the Christian prayer begins with the communal Our Father, emphasizing what unites us all. The Trumpist creed continues with the only logical succession to in defiance I, which is I will master the evil around me. This statement could not be more different from the Christian's so important final plea. But deliver us from evil. For the Trumpist, evil is not a temptation to be avoided, but a challenge to be mastered for personal gain. He sees evil not as the tempter, but as what stands between him and temptation. He wants to be tempted. So there's only one way for him to continue with the phrase, I will master the evil around me, and that is by saying, to embrace temptation. It is again the opposite from the Christian prayer, where, but deliver us from evil, is preceded by, and lead us not into temptation.
I did try and fuck her. She was married.
It's huge news there.
No, Nancy. Yeah. I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there, and she was married. Use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy.
Understanding these oppositions is crucial. For a Christian, the progression from and lead us not into temptation to but deliver us from evil is just as natural as a Trumpist's move from in defiance, I will master the evil around me, to embrace temptation. As the prayer goes backward, the creed advances. Prior to addressing temptation and evil, a Christian must seek and offer forgiveness. That is inevitable. And just as inevitably, the Trumpist expresses the opposite. After mentioning a desire to master evil and embrace temptation, he proclaims, I exact a retribution for every offense, denying mercy to my adversaries. Forgiveness is not in his vocabulary.
I am your retribution. I am your retribution. Not going to let this happen. Not going to let it happen. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. We will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country. If you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
At the core of the Christian prayer is a humble plea. Give us today our daily bread. Conversely, the Trumpist, having already declared his intentions, does not ask but assert his control over resources. To him, life is about making and spending money. So he can only say one next thing, which is, In my prosperity lies the hope for your daily bread. It's the opposite statement.
I've made billions and billions of dollars. Everything I've done virtually has been a tremendous success. I've made a tremendous amount of money in Atlantic City. I'm a businessman, did really well, really well.
The Trumpist then naturally elaborates on this. He can take and take and take by assuming the following. My will dominates. My power expands. My empire rises. First in ambition, then in deed. It is the opposite of what Christians say before they can ask for the daily bread. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. On earth as it is in heaven. For the Christian, everything starts and ends with heaven. But for the Trumpist, there's only the material world. After he has talked about his superior will, power, and empire, he expresses his ultimate demand. Revere my name, which is the opposite of the Christian praying to the Father. Hallowed be thy name. Lastly, the Trumpist makes his obvious final conclusion. I am the authority here, which is the opposite of how Christians begin their prayer with Our Father. Now the secret is that it really works. If you behave like an anti-Christian and seriously embrace the Trumpist creed, you will gain power. I don't recommend it, but here's the creed in full. It's like a playbook for how to think and act. In defiance, I will master the evil around me, to embrace temptation. I exact retribution for every offense, denying mercy to my adversaries. In my prosperity lies the hope for your daily bread. My will dominates, my power expands, my empire manifests, first in ambition, then in deed. Revere my name. I am the ultimate authority here. In short, the Trumpist creed intentionally turns the Lord's Prayer on its head, reversing its core messages and sequence to represent opposing values. Each line of the creed counters a specific line of the prayer, highlighting a clear difference between the two.